Hi, I'm Kimberly Smathers with ATN, and I'm here with Dr. Lori Desautels. So excited to have you with us. Just wonderful. Before we get started, I just wanted to quickly let listeners know that you'll have your opening keynote for the whole conference first thing tomorrow early, Monday morning, and session right after. So we're really excited to have a chance to hear from you.
I'm very excited. Thank you.
Well, what are you most excited to share tomorrow? What would you love for folks to walk away with?
So I really think that this year, this academic year so far, and then this past year, really through the pandemic, has just worn us out as educators, as mental health organizations, any of us who are working with children and youth. And so tomorrow morning, I really want to provide the understanding of how adversity and trauma impact the developing nervous system.
Yeah.
But also, I want to share that we are built for resiliency, and that's not a noun. Yeah. It's not a destination. It's the line. It's the process. And I'll talk about that tomorrow, which is hopeful.
Yeah.
So, when we recognize our autonomic nervous system states, we begin to move away from the word behavior all the time and begin to look underneath it and to really almost get in front of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and I've heard you mention before the idea of collective nervous states and like emotional contagion. Can you say more about that?
Yeah. So what we're learning, we all hold a very fluctuating nervous system. Yeah. And when I get a phone call, when I, am irritated, annoyed, then my nervous system state really ramps up to mobilize for energy. But when you have an entire grade level, or you have a department, or you have a school or a district that is collectively kind of catching that fight, flight, or that shutdown contagion, then we move as a group in those survival states. And that is extremely significant for us to be aware of in our schools. And I think that's the key word. It's not always trying to find regulation, but knowing that we are the active operators of our nervous systems, and that fluidity is just a natural part of being human.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, what an empowering way to think about it as well, in the driver's seat.
Yes. Yes, we are. Yes. Doesn't feel like it though sometimes.
The human condition, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I understand that in addition to your academic and other work, that you're back in the classroom now. So that has to be, talk about ground zero for these practices.
I share with schools and districts across the world that if I were not back in the classroom, I would not feel authentic. And I'm so grateful that I've been able to teach during COVID. And to really, I was in the very first year, 2021, when this country was really in an immobilized shutdown. Like, we did not understand what was happening. I was with second, third, and fourth grade. And then last year I moved into a large, diverse middle school in Indianapolis. We are the Voyager team, Hallway B. Oh, okay. And this school has 1,195 seventh and eighth graders.
Oh my gosh.
So it's in one school. And our kids came back, as children did across the country and the world, with a significant social loss. Yeah. And we saw that through the physical and the verbal aggressions. And we're seeing it this year. And that too has contagion for me as a teacher, for, as an administrator. We're feeling the impact of those dysregulated behaviors that we so often misunderstand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and how would you recommend that teachers think about those trade-offs between the idea of being concerned about learning loss, but the much probably more critical, bigger losses that children have unfortunately experienced?
And we will talk about this tomorrow, but I'm being very schematic when I share about brain development. So the brain doesn't work in sections or regions, but we do know that as the brain develops from the back to the front and from the inside out, that those lower brain and midbrain regions, if they are not integrated and organized well, then we cannot access the cortex. And so this medial prefrontal cortex that lives right behind our eyebrows is where we do life and where we do school. And the other thing I want to share, that there's been so much talk about brain-based learning, but the nervous system is a significant part of this work, because the nervous system has plasticity just like our brains. And actually, when I'll share this tomorrow, is that our body holds trauma. Our body holds adversity. And there are more projections traveling from the body up to the brain than the brain back down to the body. So that, what I'm saying is that when we have an experience in our life, whether it's a relational or internal, I have a bellyache or a migraine, or if I've seen something in my external environment that's upset me, my body responds. It sends messages to the brain. The brain tries to make sense of that and then sends those projections down. So it's new research, and we're really understanding the superpower of our autonomic nervous system.
Oh, powerful stuff. Well, I'm not sure it's quite the same, but I've heard the idea of, if you want to feel confident, you hold yourself with confidence.
I think that absolutely.
Are there things like that?
Absolutely, because we're, our posture and our gestures and the way that we, our facial expressions, the way that we feel those nonverbal aspects of ourselves matter. Really, really do. They communicate confidence. They communicate sometimes abandonment. They communicate lack. So very powerful.
Realizing the role that adults play in children's lives in schools and of course in homes. Can you say a bit about that? That, I think we focus on children's behavior, but it sounds like, especially the idea of a collective nervous system state, that it's the adults in the building that really kind of bear the responsibility of it there.
So this is a very challenging shift. And for over hundreds, if not thousands of years, there has been I don't want to say theory, but this oftentimes understanding that the adult is in charge of, has power over, control over. And what we are learning through this research is that we as adults, not only do we parent and guide, but we have this amazing ability to share our calm with a child or to unintentionally escalate their nervous systems. So I'll be talking about this tomorrow also in the breakout and in the keynote.
So make sure to catch that, folks.
Yes.
Well, I believe in your newest book, which I'd love if you could tell us a bit about. You mentioned the idea of nests in classrooms.
Yes. Thank you for asking me.
I'm so curious to hear more directly from you about that and about your book more broadly.
So when I was writing the new book, Intentional Neuroplasticity, and really this book is it's kind of like part 2 from Connections Over Compliance. It's like we're learning about trauma, but this is the now what. So the nests they hold felt safety. They hold our passions, our interests. They can hold our identity. They are, when I was writing the book, I was studying a variety of mammal and bird nests and thinking of how they are prepared from so many diverse materials, and they're often destroyed. They have to be repaired. They hold the adults as well as the children. So I have photos, I have pictures tomorrow of the nests we've been building in our 7th grade classrooms. And we've been doing this with adults in my graduate classes at Butler.
Oh, I was going to ask if you tried this with adults.
Oh my goodness. It's so, the work that, when we think about applied educational neuroscience and the practices, these practices are as much for adults as they are for students. Absolutely.
If folks are kind of new to this concept, they're coming along for the first time, are there any kind of tangible, starting points that you might suggest for folks, whether it's how they work with their space or just anything like that?
Well, I really feel that as we become trauma responsive, and I like to use the word trauma accommodating.
Yeah.
It's not about the programs that you bring into a school. It's not about the tools or the strategies as much as it is about the relational safety. And
Yeah.
I heard another speaker talk about that. But it really is. And I want to add to this, the relational safety, that culture that we are really wanting to move into
Yeah.
is all about our discipline protocols.
Yeah.
So when I go into schools and districts and someone says to me, Lori, we are trauma informed or we are trauma responsive, I'm thrilled to hear that. But I also I want to hear
Yeah.
about your discipline guidelines.
Yeah.
I want to see your discipline protocols. Because our discipline data shares the story oftentimes of disproportionality and over-identification of our Black, Brown, and our special education students. And this work is about equity.
Yeah.
This work is about restorative, what we like to call ruptures and repairs, that cycle of ruptures and repairs. So that's, for me, I'm hoping that that's helpful for people that are new to this, is that yes, it's about holding a relationally safe space, but it's also about the way we're disciplining children who carry in pain.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really impactful. I mean, you've seen some disturbing statistics on just even very young ages, suspensions disproportionately.
Yes.
Yeah.
A large misunderstanding, significant.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Powerful stuff. Well, I want to make sure before we close up that anything else you'd love to kind of share with our audience gets a chance to get work done here. So the floor is yours. Anything else you'd like to share?
I want to share to all the teachers, administrators, educators, all of us who are participating in this. I want you to give yourself grace, and I want to validate and affirm your nervous system for going through this time. I don't want to hear from any presenters or educators who have not been in the classroom over the last few years. It has been extremely challenging, and I will begin with that tomorrow morning, is thanking and validating those teacher leaders and our paraprofessionals. And I want to add our food service providers, our bus drivers. This is about all of us, our custodial staff. We all touch the lives of our children, our parents, our community. So it is, let me think how many years, 35 years in education, these last 3 years are unprecedented for staff and students. So thank you for having me.
Oh, just so grateful to have the chance to connect and looking forward to tomorrow. Thank you so much.
I'm very excited.
Thanks.
Thank you.
She'll cut this part.